Hey y'all, thanks for joining me. I've been working on a story to put out. I've had it saved with notes and all of that, and I'm bringing it up now because things are getting worse for our Christian brethren in the Holy Land. And this is a sore subject for me, and I tend to get a little angry, but I need to share what's going on. As it said in the title of this video, this battle for the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Why that's happening, I'm sure a lot of you know why, but I'm going to get into this because it's important historically and everything else that's going on, okay? So please bear with me. I have a lot to share with you. I'm going to start with this article that was out towards the end of May. Washington and Tel Aviv are reportedly planning to strip Jordan of custodianship over Al-Aqsa Mosque and transfer control to Israeli authorities. Now, the title here is Israel to allow Jays to pray at Al-Aqsa Mosque on Temple Mount. There's the Temple Mount. Before I even start, I'm against anybody going into another group of people's sacred space and deciding they're going to take over it and decide what they're going to do with it. Leave sacred spaces alone. Every group has the right to their sacred space. Except, okay, I'll say for me, except for Satanists, okay? But all the rest should be able to have their place of worship without being harassed and forced into not even being able to be in charge of their own facilities. So, let me go back in. The United States and Israel are actively preparing changes to the historic status of Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem. According to Middle East Eye sources, the new plan would deprive Jordan of its custodianship over the Muslim holy site. This is like a status quo that's been in place for a very long time. The administration in Washington and the Izzy government intend to introduce a new management system for the complex, one closely aligned with Izzy interests. The project is being led by, no other than Jared Kushner, no surprise, son-in-law of former U.S. President Donald Trump, Wow, okay. And U.S. Ambassador to Izzy, Mike Huckabee. Okay. The plan would terminate the authority of the Jordanian Islamic Waqf and create a new governing body under Izzy control, granting Jays equal access to the holy site for mass prayers. And why would they need to be in there? Well, there's a reason why. Izzy authorities would reportedly receive the right, now this is the part that's outrageous to me, to appoint imams and preachers as well as review the content of Friday sermons. According to White House documents, the mosque would lose its Muslim identity and be turned into a tourist site for followers of the three Abrahamic religions. The status of Jerusalem's Christian shrines under the new project remains unclear. We all know what this means. So let me just say this. Would you want, as a Christian, some other group, some other faith group, to come in and take over your churches and have them pick and choose your bishops and your priests and deacons and everything like that? They have to be approved by that group and even decide what they're going to say in their sermons. This is outrageous. And what they're trying to do, again, they are tools of Satan, these fanatical psychopaths running the Izzy government. Netanyahu, Ben-Gvir, Smotrich, they have no respect for life at all. And let me just give you a little bit of history on this. Any building of faith that you want to change it into some kind of multi-faith center is a deception, obviously. And they always say this, oh, it's for religious freedom, it's for everyone. When in reality, it's not. The goal is to incrementally strip away Islamic administration to pave the way for the Third Temple. We all know about the Third Temple, don't we? We've heard a lot about that in the past year or so, especially since Trump came into office. Let me start by, I had some questions. How long has the Al-Aqsa Mosque been in that spot? At the Dome of the Rock as well as there. So how long has that been there? Well, it was built originally in the 7th century by Arabs following the Islamic conquest of Jerusalem from the Christian Byzantine Empire in 638 CE, or as I say AD. Caliph Umar cleared the debris on the mount. Between 685 and 715 AD, the Arab Umayyad caliphs built the permanent stone Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock. And these were ethnically Arab dynasties, not the Turks, okay? Not the Ottomans. These were the Arabs at the beginning, okay? And everybody there in the Holy Land could be there. So there were Jews, there were Jays there were Christians, there were Muslims, and they were living there. And they eventually were able to bring out, come with a peaceful way of coexistence there. Well then, of course, as you know, the 16th century Ottoman Turks, skip 800 years ahead to 1516 AD. These ethnically Turks, not Arabs, captured Jerusalem and we already know what they did to the Byzantine Empire. So it was the Ottomans who constructed the iconic stone walls that surround the old city today. I'm going to show you a picture of that. So you see the wall. That was done by the Ottomans. We know what happened when the Ottoman conquest came about for the Byzantine Empire in Constantinople, and what happened with the Hagia Sophia Cathedral, right? They already violently seized the Hagia Sophia Orthodox Cathedral in 1453 and turned it into a mosque. For 400 years, they subjected the Greek Orthodox people to heavy discriminatory taxes, forced conversions, and, by the way, they also took the male children of these Greek Orthodox and raised them up. There was an old name for it, Janissy or something like that. But basically to fight against their own people. Try to convert them and fight against their own Christian brothers and sisters. Okay, that is horrible, right? We know that. And then, of course, they hanged the ecumenical patriarch at the time and Orthodox bishops from the gates in 1821. I'm sure that was some message for us. So it was the Ottomans who enforced this religious dominance over our people, our ancestors of Orthodox ancestors. Now we have the same spirit of religious dominance, but this time with the Zios. And it goes from one to another. And then the Christians are, as usual, in the middle of this. The status quo that Jordan owned, Jordan takes care of this. Let me explain this. The 1967 legal status quo. Okay, so the status quo agreement established by Moshe Dayan in 1967 and codified in Article 9 of the 1994 Jordan-Israel Peace Treaty, Jordan's Islamic Waqf retains internal administration, Muslim prayer only, while ISI controls external security. The modern extremist push directly violates this international peace treaty. Jordan's in charge of that mosque and the Muslim holy sites there. And that's why they're trying to get rid of the Jordanians' control of that, as you saw in that article. Now, I want to get into this obsession. And, because there's a side of me that says, oh, okay, so maybe these fanatics, they want to build this Temple of Solomon because they want to get the red heifers and they want to start, sacrificing animals again. I'm not sure how the animal rights people are going to feel about that, and the synagogues don't do animal sacrifices. That ended a long time ago. I just wondered why because this is all just, these fanatics, they don't make any sense. And they want more land. They want to kick out the Muslims there, but they also want to kick out the Christians. And I think people need to understand that. And I'll remind everyone that the way the Izzy state was created, that I can understand, I'll put this out, I understand that those Jays, that died in the Holocaust and they were trying to flee and find a place to stay. The problem was how it was done. Through blood. And let me tell you why that's important. They have that Greater Israel Project, as you know, but let me just explain an important piece in here. For Jews, okay? They had a mission statement, but I haven't found it. They've redone their site. So what the Torah Jews stand for: Izzy shall not ascend to the land as a wall, that is, collectively by force of arms or political project. That's one thing, because that's against what God told them. It's very important. Peaceful resistance. Exile is a condition to be born with humility, not the premise of a nationalist insurgency. Unity of diversity. We represent Orthodox Jays from all backgrounds, Hasidic, Litvish, Sephardic, united in this fundamental Torah principle. So here are the 3 oaths. As we said, Izzy shall not go up to the land as a wall. The J people are forbidden from returning en masse by force as a collective nationalist project. As we said, Izzy shall not rebel against the nations of the world. Very important. Right? Isn't that exactly what they're doing? A state that declares independence by force and fights to sustain it violates this directly. And it also violates their God. Because the God said, they said, and it's not in this, but their mission statement. God said, I will tell you when I'm going to give you the land, and it will be done through peaceful means, not through blood. If it is done through bloodshed, that is going against God and His will for the J people. Important. So this is exactly what they've been doing. Rebelling against the nations, taking land through bloodshed. That's how they came about when they were given the land, that portion the British set up. And they continue to do these things that are against God. That's why God left their temple a long time ago and said, it's desolate. He's not going to return there. So about this issue with the Third Temple. We obviously are not wanting them to build this Third Temple, we Orthodox, because we know that is going to bring about the Antichrist, their Messiah. That's what they think is going to be their Messiah, is the Antichrist. Now, of course, as you know, a small remnant of the Jays will convert to Christianity. I'm talking about the ones, these fanatics now that are doing this. And to push and try to make this happen so that, trying to hurry up the return of Christ, which is what the Christian Zios are doing, is very dangerous, and it's an affront against God. Because no one is to even mess with the time of whenever he returns. No one is supposed to guess it. Just live our lives and, as he said, doing the work of the Lord. So there are some warnings on this about what I'm just discussed here. There's a scriptural warning from 2 Thessalonians, chapter 2, verses 3 to 4. Let no one deceive you by any means, for that day will not come unless the falling away comes first, and the man of sins revealed, the son of perdition, who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he sits as God in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. And that's what these crazy people want to bring forth. And as you know, that would just mean martyrdom, persecution, imprisonment, torture, oppression, everything for the Christians. There is no escape from it. There is no floating up into the sky in this particular rapture by misreading the scriptures. If Christians were supposed to be spared from any worldly violence or oppression or persecution, then we wouldn't have had all of the persecutions in the first centuries of the church, or in the 20th century, of all the millions and millions of Christians that were killed because they were Christian, like in the Soviet Union. That's just how it is. Now, we have some church fathers that spoke on this as well. Saint Cyril of Jerusalem, he said he warned that the Antichrist would specifically try to deceive people by rebuilding the physical temple of Solomon. He will, quote, he will deceive by pretending to be the Messiah, and he will raise up the temple. Okay. Saint Irenaeus of Lyons, he says he detailed how the lawless one will rule from a rebuilt temple structure in Jerusalem to redirect the world's worship to himself. As we know, St. John Chrysostom, his analysis of the Emperor Julian the Apostate's failed attempt in 363 AD to rebuild the temple to disprove Christian prophecy, which was thwarted by miraculous subterranean explosions, proving that a physical reconstruction goes directly against God's plan. This is why they could not rebuild the temple in 70 AD, because he was not going to allow a stone to stay up, be built at all after that. Those things are very important for our souls to understand. You don't push God into trying to hurry him up to come. You don't try to make these circumstances and events so that can happen. It's a grave sin, in my opinion. A grave sin. Because you're doing your will over God's. When I say Christians are next, Christians have already been persecuted by these fanatical, psychopathic type of people. These settlers, these Ben Gvir sorts, for a long time, but it got worse and worse after October 7th, and it's happening now. Okay, decades of this. Done the video on the Mount of Olives, the takeover there, the burning of olive trees, which is crucial to Palestinians' ability to live their lives and make a living. There's the Armenian quarter that has been harassed. They had a standoff in the old city over the Cow's Garden property as a shadowy real estate deal backed by fringe settler interests. They tried to seize historic Christian land for a luxury hotel, forcing Armenian priests and residents to physically put their bodies in front of bulldozers. There's a Rossing Center for Education and Dialogue. Documented 181 targeted attacks against Christians in Jerusalem across 2025 and early 2026. So in 2024, they talked about the Christians. It has increased in 2024. They bring up the Armenian thing, what they've done to the statues of Christ, all that. I mean, you find out that this whole thing was, as usual, lies and deception. They do not care about the Christians, these fanatics. Now I'm going to show you examples, other than the one I just did, a small piece, and I've talked about this before. But we're going to go in and we're going to see this video here of how this, yet again, Izzy settler, who, look, they as I said, they are fanatics and they are violent. And here's the video of this, and you may have seen it already, but I'll play it. That is a French nun. He had no reason to do that. What kind of person does that to a nun serving God? And this happens to Orthodox nuns as well. Spitting on and all that other stuff. But this was horrific. This is a Catholic French nun. These people are in bondage of the devil. They are the tools of the devil. These type of fanatic, violent people. We need to be praying that these people, that God can somehow reach to these people, enlighten them to who He really is, soften these people's hearts. It's horrific. It's horrific. I'm going to play one other thing I just saw today. Yes, the Christian town of Taybeh, one of the oldest Christian towns, it's mostly Christian, has been attacked again. This Izzy settlers attack Palestinian Christian village of Taybeh in West Bank. I'm going to now show you a speech from Patriarch Theophilos III. Here's what he says.
A threat against our churches and Christian holy places. Your faithful Hashemite custodianship of the Christian and Muslim holy places in the Holy Land remains a powerful and effective force for good and an essential balance in a time of uncertainty and difficulty. The existential threat to the Christian presence is real and deepening, and we continue to face violations and infringements of the right of free access to the holy places. Christian Zionism, which is a misusing of the Christian Holy Scripture for political purposes. Christians in the Holy Land are watching with great concern the erosion of the historic status quo and the alarming infringements by radical groups at Al-Aqsa Mosque. We deny these violations. Any threat to Muslim holy places is a threat against our churches and Christian holy places.
Okay, so he said that December 17th, 2025. And as you know, just recently, he visited President Trump, although I don't see how this is going to do any good because Trump is subservient to these fanatical psychopaths. But he showed up there on June 5th to discuss the protection of the Holy Land Christians. He knows what's coming. And we see what's coming because that attack on that city of Taybeh, that happened on June 9th, yesterday. So these extremists are treating the Al-Aqsa Mosque very similarly to Hagia Sophia, how the Ottomans took over and treated Hagia Sophia. It's leading to that. That's my opinion. It's leading to that. And what happens with that? That's the Al-Aqsa Mosque is the third holiest site for the Muslims. And as you saw, what the Patriarch Theophilos III said while King Abdullah was there of Jordan, the Hashemite, that agreement that Jordan are the ones that are keeping that area of the Muslim sites, holy sites, safe. And he said, in an extension, also the Christian sites. And our administration, and of course the Congress is horrific on this as well. Our administration is doing this, along with these Izzies. And I'm very angry when I saw what's going on in Taybeh, and I'm very angry about merging our military with a murderous, genocidal, violent, barbaric group of people that are tools of the devil. They are being used, and there's a certain extent where one chooses to do these kind of things. So they are demonic in their actions, and like I said, this is why it's a path to erasure for these group of people, these Muslims and their faith. And you know what? I know people are, well, Muslims, who cares? They're not, they don't believe in Christ, and all these other pagan religion. Who cares about them? They don't, because I care. I care because these people are still people. And they are all made in God's image, whether they know it or not. And everybody has free will, and they choose what they believe in. And we don't paint a broad brush on every person in whatever religious group. There are extremists in every group, and we need to be aware of that. And we should be praying for peace in the Middle East for all people. I wish they would go back to how it was before the state of Izzy came about, where everybody was living amongst each other, and there was a real understanding of coexisting with them, and there was a certain peace. At some point, this will be after this Third World War. I share this piece because this kind of stuff it really weighs on my mind deeply. And I, as I've said before, I know I met Dr. Maria Corey, who is Greek Orthodox. She's married to a Palestinian Orthodox man. They lived in Taybeh until October 7th happened. She fled and all that. I did videos on that way back. I just have a connection to, all of my Orthodox brethren, because we're all one. We're his body. I hope you got something out of this. I hope You understand what I put out and why I felt like I needed to. And maybe at some point people will wake up in this country and others that we need to do this. We need to do something to stop this impunity of mass murder. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for following my channel.